Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and today on Rolling on Kickstarter, that sounds so weird to say because I still haven't gotten used to it yet. But anyway, this is Rolling on Kickstarter. This is the continuation of April's Kickstarter segment. So, as I mentioned in the prior video, if you haven't seen it, definitely go back and check that one out. It came out a week and a half ago or so, maybe 2 weeks. But essentially what we're going to be doing in this segment is I'm going to be rolling through Kickstarter with you guys. And I want you guys to feel like you're essentially sitting at my house with me and we're just ripping through Kickstarter and taking a look at some of the solo games that are out there. Again, I'm not being put up to this. So one thing I want to make perfectly clear to everybody out there is that nobody is messaging me on the side or throwing me any money or doing anything to sway my decision in what I showcase in this segment whatsoever. This is strictly just me. It's just me looking at Kickstarter, the stuff that I'm already looking at and interested in, stuff I've already played, things that I've already been researching and anticipating showing up on Kickstarter, things like that. And we're also going to see some surprises. I'm going to go through the list and be like, oh my goodness, that has solo play I didn't know. So I want you guys to know that there's no strings attached with this segment whatsoever, so you can take it as the only string attached, I guess you could say, is that my own personal bias is there, and that's pretty normal with anybody. We've all got our likes and dislikes and stuff like that, so take that with a grain of salt. My interest may not be 100% on par with yours, and that's fine. So really what this is going to be a continuation, like I said, of the April one. So we may talk about some of the Kickstarters we already did in the first one. We're also going to talk about some that came out just after I published my video and I didn't have a chance to talk about them, which is why this segment is going to become more of a routine thing. Not all the time, not every week, but maybe every 2 weeks, just so that I make sure that I can catch those ones that come out on Kickstarter and I miss. I found that if I was doing this monthly, the downside with that is that Kickstarters can be 20 days. They can be 25 days. They can be under a month. And then all of a sudden I could end up doing this video and completely missing one because it just happens to sit right in between the two videos I put out. So hopefully I can do this bi-weekly so that I don't miss anything. Fingers crossed, but there's a lot out there. So without further ado, without wasting any more time, let's move forward. So the other thing I want to mention with you guys too is I definitely want to let you guys know that if I do not happen to mention a particular Kickstarter or even go into it, whoops. So expect me to go through the Kickstarters as this is just me going through the site with you guys. So I may miss something. I may not even know that a certain game has solo. It's very possible that not everyone can know everything. So if I happen to miss a project and you're really excited about it and you think that I should check it out, or you think that it should be noted or mentioned, let me know in the comments below. You don't need to send me a link to the Kickstarter, but you can just mention like, hey, this is one that I have my eye on, I'm really interested in it. This does have solo play, because the other thing too, the last thing I'll say before we start going through this mass list here is solo, and this is an interesting part and something I definitely have an opinion on, but mainly with solo games, most designers, if they're interested in solo play, have already built the solo game into their game when it hits Kickstarter. In other words, it was built in at the beginning and it wasn't an afterthought. And that's what I prefer, because then from the get-go, they're already thinking, how do the mechanisms work? How is this game going to work solo? All the pieces there, all the components. What worries me sometimes, in some cases, is that some of these designers will use stretch goals to unlock solo, and it's not bad, because nothing about it is bad. It's not that I think that anyone that does that is horrible. I just don't think that that's the best way to go about putting solo into your game, because really what you're essentially saying is we focused on the player count being 2+, and if we get enough people screaming that solo would be cool for a particular game, we'll add it in for fun. The problem with that is, a stretch goal is fun because it seems cool, like, hey, they added solo, but what you don't know when you back a game and you give your money towards it as a solo gamer is that solo mode going to actually work for you? Like when the game arrives at your doorstep, and I've seen this with other Kickstarters, is the solo play that they actually built for it going to be a sheet of paper with 6 different steps that somebody threw together in 2 seconds and doesn't really, like, in other words, it maybe uses 10% of the game components, you know, or 10% of the game itself to play solo. That's not, to me, that kind of bothers me. So, but then there's other ones that put solo play in as a stretch goal, and it's fantastic. It's amazing. It uses everything, and it's mind-blowing. So that's something that as solo gamers we have to be watchful of, that not all projects are thinking solo when they hit Kickstarter. They're thinking solo if they get yelled at enough. And that's not necessarily the best way to go about it. Anyway, that's a massive money trail, and I've already burned enough of your time. So let's move forward with this. So first off the top, I'm going to go ahead and sort this by popularity because that's what I typically do. We'll likely also maybe check out the newest ones as well. Usually if it's most funded or most backed, then, you know, this is just going to give you stuff that you've seen in the past that's already closed up. So there's no point in going through that. And Magic, I've never understood what Magic is for. I'm assuming Magic means, like, you know, it's doing its best to guess what you might like. I've never understood what Magic is. If someone can let me know, that'd be fantastic, because I've never used it. Anyway, so we're going in here for tabletop games created on Earth because, well, we're not on Mars, and sorted by popularity. So we're starting off with Hellboy, the board game. So this is a co-op game, and a co-op game, in essence, has to have solo. And it even says 1 to 4 right there. So in 60 to 40 minutes, you can play a game of Hellboy. It's actually doing quite well. I think it just started a couple days ago, and it already has 8,000 plus backers, over $1 million. It's doing quite good. Mantic Games is the guys that are creating it, so they're up here. They've actually created a number of games previously, so you can go back through their history and see. They did Vanguard, they've done Terrain Crate. This one here is really, really cool. I jumped in on this one. This one is it basically allows you to get a whole bunch of miniatures for your games, so you know, it's going to be really, really cool. This is a total bunny trail, but essentially just a ton of terrain that you can use for like dungeon crawlers and stuff, so very cool. But anyway, side point. So Hellboy, the board game, I don't know much about it. I watched the video, so I do know what the video is all about. But the question becomes whether or not this is oh, it does look pretty cool. They definitely nailed the comic book look of it for sure with the tiles. It does look a little basic, I guess, but it is a Kickstarter, and typically things change as things go along. You know what this reminds me of? It really just reminds me of like the very first Zombicide that ever got put out, where it was kind of like, you know, here we go, and let's see what happens. I think with this one, it's going to be the type of game that if you are really into Hellboy, then this is going to be a no-brainer. You're going to be throwing your money at the screen immediately. If you are not a fan of Hellboy, or you're not that far, like I've heard of him, sorry. Haven't read much of his comics. I barely watched the movie, I don't think, so I'm not personally interested in this at all. But there'll be some of you that know a lot about Hellboy, and you're going to lose your mind. And this may be a great fit for you. This is really, in my opinion, potentially a theme and miniatures game over gameplay. Based on what I've read. And I have read this outside of this video. So just so you know, this is not the first time I've been in here. But I've also never played it. So take everything I'm saying here with a grain of salt, because, well, if I haven't played it, can't really say that it's going to be good or bad. So let's go back here a step. So we've got Black Rose Wars. Now this game is, from my understanding, just came out today, I think, and it doesn't have that many days left to go. It's doing decent. It's a really interesting looking, like it basically is this, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, it even says it right here, Black Rose Lodge. So basically the lodge is in turmoil. You've got a whole bunch of these individuals that are fighting to basically oh shoot, I actually kind of forgot this. I watched this video today, so I should have remembered this, guys. So I do apologize for this, but you can actually see this in the description below here. But essentially, the idea is that a number of players are playing against each other. The Black Rose Lodge is basically being destroyed as you play the game, but the end goal is to essentially be the last individual standing. So it is very much a take that type game, and you're trying to build up your spells. You start off with not very good spells at all, and you build up until you have many, many good spells. I can't talk about the gameplay because I haven't played this one. So, and again, the other thing is I'm not going to spend much time on it because because as of now, it doesn't have any solo mechanism built into it whatsoever. If I do a quick check on solo here, just searching, nothing. Now, this isn't always a surefire where to find something because it could be in a graphic and stuff like that too, but I've already looked and I didn't see anything in here that that mentioned anything about solo play. But you know what? This is one of those games that maybe it'll just magically appear. Okay, so this one over here, Alhambra Designer's Edition. I don't think this one is solo. I remember jumping into this one today too. I could be mistaken. Let me see here. Just gonna quickly do a search here, see if I can find number of players. Okay, well, there's the word players in there like a bajillion times, so that's not going to make it easy. Usually within the first paragraph they mention that kind of stuff, so unless I'm blind and I'm not seeing it, but it sure looks like, oh, there we go, 2 to 6, my mistake. Okay, so yeah, not a solo game yet. Again, could be one of those games that just magically pops it in there. Court of the Dead, this one is a 2 to 5 player game as well, so not going to work for this. And again, if you are familiar with this particular game and you want to give me a heads up, that's great if it happens to have solo. Zombicide Invader. So I cannot remember whether this was... no, it was. It was in the April Rolling on Kickstarter video. So we did talk about this one already. So if you want to know more about my thoughts on it, head back, check it out. There's not much more to say. It is rolling on quite well. As you can see, it's made 2,700,000 plus, got 12,000 backers. So obviously the Zombicide theme is still going strong. This pledge has gotten outrageous now, I think, with the add-ons. I think the biggest difference I'll mention before we go is just the number of add-ons they've added into this. So now you're essentially, if you go ahead, I think if I'm not mistaken, if you get the Soldier pledge, you get Black Ops here, and you get all this extra content here, and then these are all optional buys. So there's going to be this, apparently there's going to be like another base game for Invaders called Dark Side, which is like a limited print run that nobody else can get. That's why it's $90. So it's essentially like getting 2 core games, kind of like the Shadow of Brimstone thing, where you're getting like the Swamps one versus the City of the Ancients, and you're merging them together and using them and stuff. I imagine there's going to be missions that, you know, use both of them, or tile sets from either. The extras here, of course, come with that if you go ahead and do it, and they're Kickstarter exclusive. There's a deck holder set. We've seen this in other Zombicides. There's tile sets. Those are kind of unnecessary unless you want to have a massive map. These are all just packs, dice. Everything here is very standard for CMON stuff. So if you've been involved with that before, cool. If not, then you're moving on. Fireball Island, we talked about this in the last one as well, in the last video, and this one is steaming along real well. Actually, the coolest thing about this one is I did hear rumors, and these are just rumors, but I did hear rumors that the designers of this one are actually looking into the possibility of solo play. And how do I know that? If you go to the FAQ and head down here to this one here, it says, how about cooperative mode, solo, blah, blah, blah. We are considering and actively testing lots of alternate play modes. If we can develop good rules for them for the base game, they might well end up as a stretch goal. However, even if they do not, we are likely to continue pursuing these options. We would release them as a PDF supplements down the road. So again, this is where I'm getting to that conversation we had earlier in this video where it's like, makes you hesitate just a bit, because if you're a solo player and you're going, yeah, it'd be kind of fun to roll marbles down, you know, I could see how they could build this game solo where you're trying to, you know, get to the top of the mountain and you know, try to grab a bunch of artifacts and stuff like that, or whatever it is that are the main big juicy you know, rewards in this particular game, without having the Fireball Island basically throwing fireballs down your way or firing bees at you and stuff like this. But at the same time, I think there's an element there that's missed, that this game is so heavily based in dexterity that if you're playing solo and you don't have somebody else attacking you and trying to take you out, I think you're losing something in the gameplay. And you'll understand what I'm saying if you actually watch the video. So watch the videos for the game and you'll see what I'm saying. But either way, if you're looking for that for multiplayer, very cool. This, on the other hand, this is a solo playable game, Blight Chronicles. This is one I've looked into. It's starting off okay. It hasn't met its goal needed in order to fund. It's got 21,000. It's very close. It's got 20 days to go. And this is solo. It is a solo game. So this is one of the reasons why this was on my radar. This, the best way to, describe this one is it kind of has a Telltale Games. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Telltale, the video game company. They created things for The Walking Dead, for instance, and a number of other TV shows and things like that. So essentially they're like choose your own adventure-ish, but that's a really bad choice of words, actually, because it's not a choose your own adventure at all. But in a way, it has a it's very, very heavily story driven. So your choices matter and the story really does matter. So if you're interested in a solo game that has a really strong story, this may be it. And it's pretty cool because it's actually got a print and play version here for relatively cheap, for 15 bucks. You got all the stretch goals in there. You can get the box itself. You've seen a number of different people here have chimed in and played it. So I've seen pictures of this one. I haven't personally, and I won't be doing this one on the channel for a Kickstarter preview. But if it's something that ends up being something successful or something I'm really looking at in the future, I may end up showcasing it on the channel when it comes out. We'll see. I don't really know. Okay, moving on. CIA Collect It All. This one I have no knowledge on whatsoever. This looks like just a party game to me. So I doubt there's any solo play behind this one whatsoever. So I'm probably going to skip past this. If anyone's familiar with it, wants to mention it in the comments, let me know. Crypt. We found out in the last rolling on Kickstarter for April, the last video I did, that this does have solo play, and it is a super cheap entry into this particular one. It only costs $9 to get this game. So again, I have not played this, but it is a solo playable game, as you can see up here. So take a look into this one, because for $9, I don't think you're going to find many games in that price point. Things like Palm Island come to mind. So again, it might fill in. It might be a perfect filler game, and that's kind of what I'm trying to get at there. But hey, it's got to fit your theme, and I hope the game mechanics also pan out on that as well. Growl, this one, this is a party game for sure, so there's no way this is solo. I highly doubt it. Let me see here. 4 to 7 players, yeah, not gonna happen. So that's definitely never gonna get a solo play. Street Fighter the miniatures game, this is actually really cool. This is not solo playable at all. I'm gonna do a quick search because I don't think it is. I could see somebody creating a solo thing for this, because I could totally see somebody creating, some type of solo play for this. And if this is cooperative, which I doubt it would be, it's Street Fighter. I don't think there'd be anything cooperative about it. But essentially, with this one, there is a lot of miniatures. So if you are a Street Fighter individual who just loves this and you grew up on it, and you have other people to play with, this might be the thing for you. Solo players, I'm going to probably say you're going to want to hesitate on this unless you just want to basically buy this game for the miniatures, which I think I've heard a lot of people are doing. A lot of people are buying this game and going, you know what, if the gameplay sucks, at least the miniatures will be amazing. And you can see that they are pretty amazing. So that's kind of the risk with these miniature heavy games. Villages of Valeria. This rings a bell. This one, if I remember correctly when I looked into it, this one here has... yes, this one is solo playable. That's right. But I don't know much about it personally. I haven't played... There was one prior to this, I think. Daily Magic Games, the one that created this one. And let me see. Oh, there we go. Maybe that's the first one they did, I think. So let me just... Oh, nope. There's been a few. There's quite a bit. Yeah, I knew I heard this name before because there's a whole bunch of them. So I know nothing about this at all. So I'm not going to spend any time on it. But this is a solo playable game. So check it out. It might be of interest to you. That's all I'll say because I don't know anything else. If you happen to know more, let me know in the comments below. Maybe you haven't. You love it. And it's the best thing you've ever seen. If that's the case. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. I'm not going to get behind this personally, but I think this is the coolest thing. This is really cool. It's just a cool idea. And I'm not going to go into specifics on it, but if you want to take a look at the video and kind of what they're trying to do with it, it's interesting. It's almost kind of like a pre-glimpse into the future of what kind of augmented reality with board games or RPGs would look like. The video is weird. It's kind of a mix of it's kind of cool, but it's also kind of cheesy, but it's also really good. It's weird. It's like there's certain portions of it where you're like, wow, that looks really fantastic, and other portions where you're like, that doesn't look so good, and I just don't know the practicality of it and how often it will, and whether it'll turn out the way you hope it'll turn out. But anyway, Not a solo game, that at all. Grifters. Grifters is a 2 to 4 player game, so this has no solo mode in it whatsoever, and there's no mention of solo here. Let's move on. Let's see. Mega Metro City. This one must have just started recently because I know nothing about this thing, but it looks like a miniature heavy game to me. Looks like it's almost got 100. Actually, it just cracked its goal, so it is going to fund, so that's interesting. Oh, it is 1 to 4. It's probably cooperative then in that case, so interesting. Okay, so is this going down the whole Street Fighter thing again? Kind of. Okay, first off, I apologize. If this is based on some prior game that I'm not aware of, whether it be a video game or something else, then you guys can let me know in the comments and thrash me. But this is not ringing a bell at all for me, so I don't know much about this, and I don't want to speak to this because I do not know anything about it at all. So again, check it out if you're interested in the theme and stuff like that, or if it happens to tie back to some video game that you used to like, but that doesn't do anything for me personally. What the heck is that? Let's see here. Oh, Tiny Minstrel Games. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, these guys, I mean, they make a lot of Kickstarters. And to be totally honest, I haven't really gotten behind a large majority of their stuff. But they do make good stuff. And it's not because I don't like what they do. So don't get that impression. I just haven't found one that's really grabbed my attention yet. This is a 2 to 4 player game anyway, so we're going to skip right out of this thing. Confrontation. Now this thing hit, and this was some massive miniature skirmish game in a box, and it funded so fast and gained so much money. I thought this thing was going to fly like into the millions so quick, because this is like a wargamer's kind of board game dream, I guess. And I think this calls back to you know, a game that used to be super popular back in the day, or maybe it's a re-envisioning or a revision. I don't know. Reimagination. I don't know how to phrase it, but regardless, this is a huge miniature game. It has nothing to do with solo play whatsoever. If it has the word skirmish miniature game, you're not gonna find a good solo game in that at all. Although I should say there could be some very good unofficial variants in the future, but I would not put my money into that when it's just starting out. Village Pillage. So this looks like a party game. It's 2 to 5. So nope. Last Stand limited edition games playmats. So I guess if you wanted to grab some playmats, that's kind of cool. I don't know if it's is it just the one? Interesting. Okay, so yeah, there's just one, but that looks really, the artwork looks really good. I can barely speak. Fire Tower, a board game by Runaway Parade, 2 to 4 players. Okay, so not solo. This is is it a book? Looks like a book. Yeah, or it could be an RPG actually. That's what it probably is. Yeah, it's an RPG. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with RPGs either, guys. You know, there's ways. RPGs is a whole other ball of wax that I don't get into on my channel. So, but they're cool. I'll say that much. But I'm not going to focus on them on the channel here. And Overlight's another one, and this one's created by Renegade Game Studios. So at least it has a really solid, you know, group behind it. I don't know what people are thinking about it, but regardless, not solo. Hey, look at that. So again, at the end of the April Rolling on Kickstarter video that I did, the City of Kings literally went back on Kickstarter, I think the day after I released that video, and I was like, ah, shoot. I should have delayed it by a day, because this was one I totally want to talk about. And that's the City of Kings. This is one that I will say that if you are looking for the solo game currently on Kickstarter, if you're not already sucked into the Zombicide Invader one, because I think between Zombicide Invader, which offers a dice chucking, monster infested random mess, but so much fun. But then on this side of things, the City of Kings offers a very heavily strategic game. The best way, and I think I've mentioned this before to describe it to people, is your movement truly matters, almost like chess. The monsters will take over certain tiles. They'll have effects that affect certain tiles. Your positioning matters. The monster's positioning matters. The distance between you matters. Your turns matter. The choices you make on your turn matter. So you basically, if you do not efficiently move around in the game, or you don't place yourself in an advantageous position, this game will eat you up and spit you out. And it has a learning curve, because some playthroughs I've had of this game will be vicious. Like, in other words, you'll play through it and, the game will just beat you up. But then other playthroughs I've played, if you strategize really well and some of the cards land in your favor, some of the things in the market show up, that kind of thing, then it can be really fun that way, because things seem to move along in a positive route. So I like it, because to me it's a 50-50 game, and I like games like that. I don't want to go into a game and say and just always know that everything's going to pan out in the end, because there's no strategy, there's no fear of losing. I would like a game that can just destroy you outright and leave you sitting there going, wow, that was a complete wash. And that doesn't bother me as a solo gamer. It might bother some people as solo gamers, but I like games like Kingdom Death Monster, where you can start a game, start your settlement, and have your whole settlement devastated and killed off before you even start. Like, not before you even start, but like very early on in the game. So I don't mind that, chance at losing at all. I have a ton of games that are very, very harsh, and will definitely chew you up and spit you out if you are not playing it correctly. So City of Kings, I say all that to say, this is a high recommendation from me. Very, very high recommendation. I think this is a really special game this year. It also does a bunch of things that other games don't do. It's a really cool, this is a great blend of like Euro mechanics mixed in with like I don't even know, it's like Ameritrash and Euro game all merged together. It's got like worker, it doesn't have worker placement like it doesn't have worker placement, but you are placing workers. Does that make sense? So like, regardless, there's a lot going on in this one. It's really cool. There's lots of strategy, and if you like strategy and you like trying to find, like, it's like you're basically trying to solve a puzzle, and I love it. And of course, what makes it fun is not solving the puzzle. It's the theme that goes with that puzzle that then makes you just want to put this thing on the table every other day. I really enjoyed our playthrough and showcase of this thing, so if you are interested in this one, I highly recommend it. So this one came back. It's a solo game. You can play its scenarios. You can play a story, which as you're progressing through chapters, it's really cool. This is kind of a layout. If you don't know anything about it, check out my showcase. You can search it on the channel. You'll find a full playthrough of it, so you can see it in full detail. It has fantastic artwork. The really cool thing about this is that it's not just a reprint. He's not just coming back to Kickstarter to basically reprint more of the same. He's actually going to go ahead and he's adding a bunch of new stuff in. So if you go down here, it says right here, there are 6 heroes to choose from. These are, this is the typical speech from the first Kickstarter. But here it says, what's new? This is like, what is actually different about this Kickstarter? It says it's going to add 4 new world packs, allowing you to pick and choose new content you want to have. So you can have a character pack that adds different people into the game, and these are the 4 different characters added in. There's going to be a side quest pack that adds more side quests into your quest deck, which is awesome. And a hero deck. And you might be wondering, what the heck is a hero deck? It's this thing right here. It's miniatures for all the standees that are in the game, and that is awesome because these miniatures look incredible. Like, if that's the sculpt for the standee, like, I want to paint this. I want to paint it right now. So this is going to be really cool, and I cannot wait to add that in. They're also, I think, as part of the Kickstarter, they've got this thing going on here, and I don't know much about this one, so you have to look into that yourself. If someone happens to know more about this one, let me know in the comments below. It might be a soloable game. I don't know, but that's in there as well. I think you can add this in as a standalone game. It says right here, during this Kickstarter, we're offering a new standalone game for the very first time. So again, I don't know too much about it, so I don't want to speak to that. But here you go, is like all the really amazing artwork, the creatures, and stuff like this. But anyway, you guys have seen this on the channel, and if you haven't, go check out my showcase because it's going to cover all of this in great detail. I've got a setup video, got a rules video, all that good stuff. And I also would highly recommend, if you are going to get it, get the deluxe upgrade. Get the deluxe upgrade. It is worth it. I'm telling you right now. These 2 2 quick setup trays and these 4 anti-knock sheets by themselves make that entire deluxe upgrade worth it. Everything else you can consider just to be freebies, because those 2 things are the most useful things to get the game to the table and also ensure nothing gets knocked all over the place, because there are cubes all over your character when you're leveling up and stuff. And I can tell you, I bumped the table multiple times while filming, and because of those anti-knock sheets, I was able to not lose my positioning on where they were, and it was hugely helpful. So here's the hero pack. This is what it's going to look like. It's got 6 figures in it. I've been in this Kickstarter already and taken a look through this. That's why I'm familiar with it. I've actually, and just so you guys know as well, all the Kickstarter stuff that we've already gone through, and I've been jumping through them fairly fast and just double checking. I'm just checking with you to ensure solo play hasn't been added and I'm not missing something, but I have looked at all of these off camera, or not off camera, but off this video in my own time first. So this isn't the first time I'm going through this stuff. I do heavily research Kickstarter and BoardGameGeek for games that are coming out in, way in advance. So a lot of these games I will recognize when they hit Kickstarter, and then some are surprises. Some surprise all of us and they just come out of nowhere. So anyway, this was one of the ones that didn't surprise me. I knew about this game way before it was going to hit Kickstarter. I was really excited for this one. So anyway, this is a good recommendation for me as a solo gamer. This is one you want to get on if you have to choose. This is just some dice. That's cool. And then we've got the Miskatonic University, the Restricted Collection board game. Interesting. I think this one's been out for a while. This actually might have been even around when I did my last one, but I know nothing about... Oh, looks like it could be solo. I did not look at this one close enough, I don't think, last time. Does this one allow for solo play? That is the question. If I could type, that would be good. Let's try player to see if we can find player count. Again, if I could, 5-player desk boards. Okay, player mats. Usually it's like right in front of my face and I don't see it. I don't know. This one might be, maybe you can play this solo. I don't know. If you're into Cthulhu and H.P. Lovecraft, this could be really cool. But if you're not, then you're going to want to run in the other direction as fast as possible. I don't know much about this one. So this one I'm going to have to research on my own and maybe get back to you guys. Maybe, I guess this has only got 11 days left, so it'll probably won't be around by the time I do my May rolling on Kickstarter. So if you guys happen to know more about this one and you want to talk about it in the comments below, please let me know, because there might be somebody that know more about that one than I do. But that's essentially it for the popularity. Let's take a look at the newest to see if anything here sticks out. So we've already talked about these. This is all miniature based stuff. If you got a 3D printer, that's pretty cool. You can do some fantasy scenery. Again, I'm not, when I'm saying that, I'm not endorsing that particular one. If I'm endorsing it, I will let you know, like I did with the City of Kings. It will be very obvious. And when I say endorsing, I just mean I've played it and I know it's going to be good, or I've researched it heavily and I'll give you an... So far, my biggest recommendations for this video would be Zombicide Invaders and City of Kings. Those are the 2 that you really need to determine which you want to go with. Hellboy is totally an option for those of you that are interested in the theme, but just because of the IP and the fact that it's so heavily set in IP, you have to like the IP in order to like the game. So it doesn't get as high of a recommendation for me for that reason. It's kind of like the Dark Souls thing. It's like, the people that enjoyed Dark Souls when that Kickstarter hit were losing their minds, but the people that didn't like Dark Souls were going, it makes me harder. It basically makes it harder for you to enjoy it if you don't like the theme or the IP. So, okay, so I don't think there's anything really that I'm missing here. So I'm going to go back up and I'm just going to quickly go through what we went over. So again, Hellboy, if you're interested in the IP, check it out. Black Rose Wars is very cool. And one thing I will let you guys know about here with this studio that did... that is doing, the Black Rose one, is that they did a Kickstarter for, where is it here? Oops, I don't know what I'm in right now. Oh, created, not backed. So they created Black Rose Sign Tempor. This one's really, really cool. This one, I cannot wait for this to deliver. It looks great. This is one that I'm going to be getting to the table the second it pops in the doors. This is going to be a really interesting solo game. It's already closed off though, but it looks like they've got the late pledge button open. So I guess, hey, it's not that bad. I'm letting you guys know about something in advance. If you haven't checked out this one is, I think it's being delivered relatively soon. So if they still this late pledge is legit and you can still late pledge for this, and this is for real. Oh, maybe you can't. No, they're disabled. My mistake. Sorry guys, didn't mean to get your hopes up there. But you know what? I do see them coming back to this one again. So don't worry about that. It was relatively successful, but it was really cool. It's got like modular boards. It's got terrain. The whole space theme was just so cool. It obviously has tons of miniatures and things like that, but it also had I believe this one has the rondelle. So this was really cool. And I don't know. I just got really excited for this one. So anyway, that's a total side thing. The only reason I mention that is because these guys are now doing Black Rose Wars, and maybe this will have some solo play in it. Maybe it won't. We'll see. So if I jump back all the way, the ones to keep an eye on, like I said, for the IP is Hellboy. Zombicide Invader is a great solo choice. This is great. Crypt is awesome if you want a cheap game or filler game. There's no harm in that, because even at $9, if it's not a good game in the end, it's only $9. It's not that bad. This one I don't know enough about yet, but it sounds good. If it's a Telltale Games style, and whenever I say that, I'm not saying that that's made by them, but it's that style, then this could have potential. That's what I'll say about that one. It could have potential as a great solo game, because it's obviously just played solo, so it's, there's that. But do your research on that one, because I don't have enough ammunition to tell you whether or not that's a solid one to go for or not. Valeria, another one that someone else is going to have to, in the comments, get back to me on as to whether or not that's worth it. That seems to be one of many that they've released, and we've gone over all of these. So, and City of Kings, of course, that is my highest recommendation in this whole pile. So hopefully that helps you guys. That is going to, and of course this is going to be the norm with the continued segments for the Rolling on Kickstarter every month. The continued one is always going to be a little bit less information than the original, because it's only two weeks after the previous one. So I'm really just kind of summing up the end of the month and stuff like this. But when we go into March, I'll be doing one for March, and we'll be allowing a little bit more of a gap so that more projects will come in and we'll be able to talk about some new stuff. So I'm really excited for that. Hopefully this was useful, guys. And if there's anything else you'd like to know about the games, feel free to comment down below. I would love to hear your feedback. If this was useful for you, or you enjoy this segment as a whole and want me to continue doing it, give me a thumbs up, a like. It lets me know that this is something that's worthwhile to you guys. Thanks so much for your time, and as always, keep on rolling solo.